Welcome to this week's episode of the Evolve to Succeed podcast. My guests this week are two remarkable individuals, Julie and Sally, who are two team members of a team of three that rowed across the Atlantic in their boat Ebb Flow in late 24 through to the early part of 2025, completing the challenge in 59 days. You may have heard and seen the previous conversation we had with them pre-trip, so this conversation covers what the trip was really like, what resilience did they have to find, what are some of the challenges and some of the highlights. I'm sure it's going to be a remarkable conversation. Please do enjoy, and if you are enjoying the podcast, then please do help us by subscribing on your favourite channel. I'll find out more about Evolve by going to evolveadvisory.co.uk. But for now, let's get on with the show. Julie and Sally, welcome back to the Evolve to Succeed podcast.
Thank you for having us back.
Yeah, well, huge congratulations for completing one of the world's extreme challenges, which is rowing across the Atlantic. You completed it in 59 days, and you're back to tell the story.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah. So there's lots. As you walked in and took your seats, I was like, "There's so much I want to ask you," and I've zipped my mouth and I've saved them for this conversation. So let's start with the end. You know, what did it feel like crossing that finish line?
Bonkers, wasn't it? It was amazing.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the best I've ever had.
Yeah, it's up, it is. It's up there with, in terms of the emotions you get, it's up there with having your first child or, you know, getting married or something like that. It's the feeling of coming around the corner into English Harbour was just incredible. And the welcome you get.
Okay.
It was so loud. We had the media boat comes up to us, and there's been the three of us for 59 days, tattling away in our own little worlds, and then all of a sudden we get this noise from the media boat coming up to us. We
had to see your life go.
We're like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
The screaming and shouting, and then there was boats going out the harbour and blowing their horns, and then as soon as you turn that corner, all the horns start going.
Yeah. Okay. Pots and pans on yachts that were all moored up in the English Harbour as well.
Really?
People shouting and cheering from the beach on all the boats that are all anchored.
Yeah.
Everyone's standing on the back of the boats, and then
just making whatever noise they can, isn't it? Just to let us in.
And then our family was Paul and Andy and the kids that had come out, all came up in a little rib as well.
Oh, wow.
Which is
they sat on the back of a yacht, made good mates with the people on the yacht, didn't they? Which we kept seeing in Antigua for the rest of the week. And they just got all their pots and pans out and went, yay!
Oh, brilliant. Fantastic. And that must have been a special moment for you, because one of the reasons you did the challenge, if I remember rightly, is you being in the harbour, on the boats.
Yes.
And seeing the rowers come in, and that was one of your motivations, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what inspired me to do it in the first place, is being one of those boats. And you get goosebumps when you see them come in and you hear the noise levels and seeing all the people on the dock. Luckily we came in at lunchtime, which was perfect timing, so it was busy, lots of people around. So that's what drove me to do it. So
I was at midnight wouldn't have been quite the same.
Well, it's funny because we were originally supposed to come in darkness
3
hours, 3 a.m., 3 to 5 a.m. And I got quite low about it.
Yeah, there's quite a discussion. There's quite a discussion, wasn't there?
Yeah, in fact, I couldn't stop talking about it.
No, it went on.
Because
was that a theme as well?
I was really low at the thought of coming in darkness, because I knew how special it was to come in daylight.
Okay.
So I couldn't get myself out of a mental hole when for 24 hours before thinking it's just not happening. We are coming in the daylight. And in the end,
stop rowing, guys.
Yeah. Well, I stopped rowing, and I thought no, I can't stop. I have to keep rowing. But in the end, the weather and the waves got the better of us. And
we did have a little sneaky power anchor.
Yeah, we had to put the power anchor down and stop for 4 hours.
It kind of changed our.
And that, some people thought that was tactical, but it wasn't. It was genuine.
Fate kind of thing.
And that was the difference between coming in daylight hours.
Yeah, it was perfect time back in the UK. So we came in about just before 10 a.m. Antigua time, and then back here in the UK, all our family, so my brother, family, mum and dad, all down at Christchurch Sailing Club, and they watched the finish on the screen. So they had it all set up with loads of members there, which was great for them. It's perfect. It's like lunchtime, bar time, perfect. Brilliant. So they got the TV out, and they were. So that was it. Was great for that too.
It was.
That was fantastic.
And has the achievement really sunk in now?
I don't know.
It sort of has, but it feels like a big dream as well.
Okay.
And I had to sort of remind myself, did that actually happen? And you keep going over little things, remembering all sorts of things.
Bits.
We've done lots of talks, haven't we? We've done 4 or 5 talks now at various places that we've returned to. And each time you do a talk, there's new stuff that you remember. Or you remember everything, but you don't talk about everything. But it could go on and on and on.
Just trigger.
Yeah.
And just walking through the supermarket or walking through the town, people come up to you and put their hands on your shoulders or give you a hug, and it's total strangers. So
I followed us.
Yeah.
And
some people cry.
Yeah.
Even now,
Yes,
we're a few months in, and I got stopped the other day in a supermarket, and the guy, it was an old work colleague, and he just cried. And I was like, and it's quite strange because it's quite overwhelming, the effect it has on people.
Definitely.
But for us, it became normal. And anything extreme that becomes normal doesn't quite have the effect that it does on other people.
No, definitely not. I can see that.
Yeah.
And so if we think about the crossing itself, people can go back if they haven't already listened to the preparation kind of podcast we did. Yeah. But what were the surprises of the crossing? What are the things that happened or you experienced that you hadn't prepared for? Because your preparation was very thorough.
It was, we had covered most eventualities.
I think the thing that got us was the whole battery thing. How much you have to think about batteries every single day and tech. And you think, hang on, we're doing this row hoping we're going to get away from it, because you remember saying, get the laptop away, get the phone away, all of that.
Forget the tech.
Every hour obsessed with tech, with battery management, and what have we got charged? What are we charging? So that was a big.
It was.
That kind of took over our mind.
It was all consuming.
All very
because we had power issues, which were partly human error, and we did have a couple of sort of technical faults that we had to fix.
It then became that.
Yeah,
just
power
fixated on it. That paranoid.
Power was so important because it ran our auto helm, and the auto helm is like having a third person. So if you couldn't run the auto helm, it meant you couldn't have 2 rowing. You've got one, and if you've got 1 rowing, that obviously makes you much slower. Yeah. But you also get drift when you have only if you can't get the speed. You can, like a shopping trolley. Yeah. Okay. So it became all consuming, and then we had a pecking order, didn't we, of what could be charged?
Yeah.
Even down to we couldn't charge our digital watches.
Yeah. Head torches, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Head torches were important, and sat phones were important.
Yeah.
But we had minimal charge in our batteries to do those things. So that was a surprise.
Yeah, and then also, and I suppose then with that came the hand steering, literally. Hand bearing compass, we had issues, and we needed to just sit in front of a compass for about 2 a bit hours, just hand steering whilst the boat's going that way, going backwards, and burning the back of our retinas and our eyeballs, staring at this compass, making sure we're not going to go off course, and take that into consideration at night time when it's dark as well. Yeah. Bit crazy.
And the concentration required for that.
For that
was incredible.
Immense,
and in the darkness hours, of which there are 13 dark hours and 11 daylight hours, that was a surprise.
Yes, that was.
How dark it would be for how long. Yeah. And to concentrate on a compass and hand steer for that long when you're dog tired is hard.
Yeah, it is.
Really hard.
That was the big one. That was the big thing.
And it's the power of the batteries and that was probably the
other one was rubbish.
We accumulated so much rubbish, which is pretty bad. So all our food packets, all our snack packs, everything was in our snack packs was wrapped in something. We tried to avoid rubbish and plastic and all that kind of thing, but you can't get away from it. It's a pain.
It was everywhere.
We had to kind of had a sort of jig of food stock.
Right.
Sort of about a third in, just to think, just to store the rubbish. Yeah. I think there's a picture on our page somewhere of where we've literally got our food out on the deck, just resorting, reshuffling. Right. So Julie and I sort of put all our food into one. Ed's was all in one. Then we freed up another locker for the rubbish and stuff. But it became a bit of a deal, that, didn't it?
It did. And of course, because it gets wet a lot. Sometimes we would leave the rubbish in bags out for a few days before you put it away. and it gets wet and it starts to smell. And it was a surprise. It was the one thing that, in terms of logistics and chat, we didn't
anticipate that one, did we?
Just thought you tuck it away, it'd be sorted and it'd be done.
I don't know what we thought would happen with it.
I'm not too sure. we didn't think about it enough.
We didn't think about that at all.
And did a normal day was there such thing as a normal day at sea? And what did a normal day at sea look like? Was that as you expected?
Routine.
There was routine.
Yeah, there's routine.
We talked about that quite a lot.
So we did. Yeah, so I suppose basically our routine after our power issues or first week became the new norm of reduced amount of time that we could have using the auto helm. So then that meant hand steering, one person on the wall.
That incident happened very early on in the road.
Yeah, within that sort of first week, wasn't it? So that became our new norm. So adjusting to that was what we had to do. Taking on challenges as well and fixing stuff was a good one, but we were pretty resourceful at that. So daily routine was getting up, feeding, breakfast, cleaning down the decks, washing down the solar panels that had to be done, getting the salt off those, making sure they're gonna get some power into those. Feeding, rowing, sleeping, really. Any nav checks need to be done. Sat phones, making calls to safety team, making calls to our weather router back home, checking our course is good. All of that.
Making water. So
Okay.
we'd have to make the water in the middle of the day when it's at its hottest, when you've got maximum power. And then when we didn't have power to make the water, we had to make it by hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you might have the cloudy day and think, oh no, we need as much power we need. Because you're thinking of that night hedge. The day you're thinking of what power you've got at night to drive the water out, really. Yeah. So you're trying to get in as much as you possibly can. So also when we have the water maker on, the auto helm goes off. So again, you've got one person off watch, one person hand steering, one person rowing whilst the water maker's on. Yeah.
And was the sleep deprivation as extreme as you thought it would be, or
your body does? You do get used to it, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
You're sort of in that.
It takes about 5 days to settle in,
and to eat as well at the right time when you need to as well. The eating didn't really happen properly to a good sort of week, did it?
Yeah. And you do just get used to it, and you start off the first few days being pretty dog tired, and you're falling asleep, but sort of almost at the wheel, if you like.
I think the first or even second night, all three of us were just like,
you are zombies.
just going, well,
you are zombies.
all at the same time. You really were.
But after 5 days, suddenly, I think with the body starts to adjust to it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't become such of a big deal.
No.
And then the strange thing is you then start waking up before, even though you've only got 20 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour, you start waking up just before.
You get a little bit of a paranoia going on, don't you?
Like you would do in normal day life.
Yes, your body knows that it's only got an hour, and you tell yourself. We were given a tip before we went that if you found that you only had 20 minutes, instead of panicking about the fact that you've just got 20 minutes, you turn it around and go, oh, thank goodness, 20 minutes.
Okay, so it's
a psychological switch.
Yeah.
And it worked, and you just fall asleep. And then I started waking up just before.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd fall back to sleep again by accident, but we had a few instances, didn't we, where we all overslept.
All overslept, or came on early, or woke somebody up too early, or it was all,
just that
pretty
kind of
fair.
Routine. And how many hours sleep a day were you getting?
An hour, just over an hour or something.
So you're getting an hour.
By the time you've maybe an hour 15.
And then you'd be how many hours on?
2.5 to 3.
And then an hour sleep.
Yeah.
So and sometimes in the day you would probably forego your kind of couple of naps, or because you'd be fixing something, mending something, doing chores, cleaning, washing yourself.
Yeah.
Old hair wash.
Yeah.
Twice, I think.
I think overall in 24 hours you may get 4 or 5 hours sleep.
Yeah.
But it's obviously very broken.
Yeah.
But your body just adapts to it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's quite amazing how body does adapt to it, actually.
It does.
And I'm trying to think about the previous conversations. One of the things I remember is, Sally, you having this fear that mid-Atlantic, needing to jump over attached.
Oh, yeah.
Jumping over the side of the boat, knowing, what's underneath me.
Yeah, we did. I think
did you overcome that fear?
No, because I never went in. So bless Ed was nominated. Well, he naturally nominated himself.
Okay.
Well, absolutely brilliant. So I had hold of the tether, hold of the line whilst Ed was in there. And so, yeah, he was the man that I think.
And this was to clean off the barnacles, wasn't it?
Yes. Barnacles, yeah.
Yeah,
it was a great time, actually. It was quite fascinating because these barnacles are really big. I didn't expect them to be what they were. They're pretty big, got like sort of long, feathery type taily bits on them.
Yeah.
And as soon as you whip them off, all these cool fish came up. So like dorados, wahoo, all these colourful, bright turquoise, green, yellow fish came up. I had to shout one day, didn't I? I think it was the second or third time Ed was in there. I was like, Ed, look behind you, there's a massive one. Didn't scare me even guy that side of him at all.
He was quite cool with it.
He's quite cool.
He volunteered to go overboard.
Okay.
And he volunteered. I think we did 3 or 4 clears.
Okay.
And he volunteered each time, and he was more than happy. And we were kind of mildly
Fine.
Yeah,
Great.
that was it. Don't have to face the fear.
Yeah, it kind of.
I don't regret not going over. Actually, I have. We both actually jumped out in like mid-ocean. In different times.
Scenarios, yeah,
So
but,
I know how it feels.
Yeah.
And I don't regret not going out and cleaning the boat. He did a very good job.
Yeah.
And isolation, that kind of, vastness of the ocean, being in this rowing boat, how did that feel?
It looked the same every day. Horizon, the clouds, the sun, the sea.
You spend most of your time
just like looking
right,
very much
as well.
Right, yeah.
Because you're rowing in that direction, and because of the angle of the waves and the wind, you spend
Kind of
most of your day looking to the right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then every now and again, I would say,
I'm going
Sally,
to look left.
You look left today, Sally, and you look left, and it looks completely
different. Yeah.
It was like seeing
Maybe
2
because
different
the sun is-
fields. Very strange.
Weird.
But
And making ourselves also look at the sunset as well.
Yes.
It's like we would hardly ever do that because it's always pretty much behind us. So
yeah, you had to
That
stop.
must be one of the spectacular things to see, would be the sunset though.
and dawn as well. That was my favourite.
Dawn was better than dusk because when the sun goes down, you've got 13 hours of darkness, and those 13 hours feel twice as long as they ought to feel. Because the daytime's very busy with all the jobs and the routine.
Yeah.
And then the night time, you just row and eat.
Row, eat,
And
sleep.
it just feels like 24 hours, not 13. It's a long... So I didn't like
Was that more
sunsets.
challenging at night than you thought it would be?
Yes, that staying awake is hard.
Yeah.
Really hard, isn't it? And
Yeah,
you get not the hallucinations at night.
Yeah.
You see things on the water.
You do, and you start chattering absolute gibberish. Like we all did, didn't we? It was so funny.
Yeah. You do things like I was rowing with Sally one night, and Sally just got up from her rowing seat.
She's going to
I
go
said,
shopping.
Where are you off to? And she said, I'm just going. She said, Ed's run out of reindeer soup. I'm just going to go and get him some.
So literally just got up and walked down the boat. It just went off.
And then
you suddenly click out. What am I doing down here? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Back to my seat.
No reindeer soup.
No.
Can't find it.
And then one day Ed got up to go and check on Sally because he was worried that she'd overslept, but she was actually rowing in front of him. Wow. So I said, no, Ed, sit down. She's right there.
Yeah.
You have night hallucinations and you talk to yourself. But you never, what's strange about it is you never talk about anything that isn't associated with the boat and what you're doing.
It's very all around.
We're still very insular on this is where we are, this is what we got to do. It's just a bit gibberish and it doesn't make
it doesn't make sense.
Well, mine was like I'd been sent on a mission, like I was part of a naval vessel in my crazy dream, and it went on. And one of my jobs was you must go and get the water. You've got to fill up the whole vessel with water. And I was obsessed with water. So I kept sort of undoing the lids of the water bottles, I think.
Yeah, you did.
That? Yeah. Very, very odd. And and then opening lockers and checking what was in there for food as well. Not because I needed to eat it, but because that was my part of my mission and my mission.
You were on.
So I'd let go of the oars and stop rowing and go and do these things, or go and grab something that you're looking and thinking of in your dream, but it's obviously physically not there. But it's so bizarre.
I started talking to the kit that was hanging on the rails.
You named it.
I named all the pieces of kit, different names, and things like the VHF radio was an essential piece of kit, but rarely got used. So I used to talk to it and say, it's okay. When you are used, you'll come into your own. You'll be fine. Don't worry.
You named the clamps that we putting our clothes down with, didn't you? Like,
Yeah,
he hasn't
all
been
the
used
pegs.
very much. We'll call him Bob, or moving around a bit.
So yeah, nighttime is
bungee.
nighttime is hard. You have
It's
to keep
hard,
yourself
sure.
awake. Staying awake's hard.
Yeah.
Hallucinating, the night terrors and things like that. But
And was it more of clearly it's an extreme physical challenge, but was it a mind over matter challenge, or was the physicality worse?
I think more mind over matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
More the mental strain on your brain every day to go through the same thing
Yeah.
for 59
Eat, sleep,
days.
repeat type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I think the body just cracks on, doesn't it? It just keeps going. And you'll find bits that might drop off, fall off, or fail, or something becomes spotty. So then that becomes an extra chore that you've got to add on to your less, to your time off, to your rest time.
And that mental resilience that clearly you went through, have you come back slightly different on this kind of a real self-belief now, self-awareness of what can you achieve? Has that changed your mentality and your opinion of yourselves?
I don't think it's changed the opinion of myself, but I would say resilience-wise,
Massive. That's
is
the main
huge.
word I take from it. Totally.
Yeah, I mean, the thought of walking for 7 hours I don't even think about it. I'm not saying I'm doing that, but anything that I need to do doesn't ever feel like a chore anymore. So there is a huge amount of mental resilience with it.
So that personal growth thing has become transparent.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
anything is possible, really.
Yeah, and it's mainly that's come from the process that we have to deal with in our daily chores, as it were. So the battery thing we had to sort out. We had to fix something because we're out there. The three of us. There's nobody else out there. Yes, we can talk to people like safety team and get advice and help or whatever, but it was down to us to make it work. So for that resilience, we just had to make it work. There was no choice in the matter because you're out there on your own, so you've got to do it.
Yeah.
And we got through it, and we just kept winning. Just kept pushing all the time.
You just chunk it off and knock off for days. And where it became particularly difficult was where we felt in ourselves that we'd done X number of hours. I know, let's say or X number of miles. We thought we'd done really well. We thought we were going at speed. We were going in the right direction, and we were almost ready to celebrate. So when we made the call to Paul, our weather router,
couple of times,
maybe 3 times a day. But when we made that call, and then we got told that we've drifted 25 degrees, or we've only done half the number of miles that we thought we'd done. That was really hard, wasn't it? It was tough mentally.
And I think it was that last week that got tough mentally in that, because you see that week and you think, we've been out here for so many weeks. We've been like 5 weeks or something like that. And then in that last week, it just took forever to get anywhere.
Because that's that anticipation. I'm nearly there, I'm going to see my loved ones again. We're going to celebrate. I'll get back. We're going to be safe.
That really eats you up, that anticipation of getting somewhere. Because you've been out there for that chunk of time, which is fine. But as soon as you get towards the end, you're like, ooh, trying to run before you can walk kind of thing. And trying to...
When you start the row, you do day by day.
Yeah.
You don't think
see it as a
further
whole
ahead. Sometimes you think AM, PM, because that's how you have to think about it. You can't think about how long it's going to take you.
It's going to be 59 days or whatever.
Exactly, and you don't know how long it's going to take you. No. But when you get to that last week, it's you sort of think it's going to go super quickly, and it's actually the reverse.
Okay.
So, and you forget to think about each day or each morning or AM or PM.
Yeah.
You suddenly start thinking about the finish, and then you have to rein it in and think, no, don't even think about the finish.
Just want to fit that back. Just want it, don't you? Yeah. And also great advice from our Ian Crouch, our safety officer. He was always saying, only think at 2 or 3 hours ahead of yourself, nothing longer, because anything can happen within an hour, within 2 hours. Don't ever try to think beyond that. See, it was so hard to tell your mind. I kept having a right strong word with myself.
Stop it! Especially when you see your family fly over the top of you.
That was
that was very surreal, wasn't it? And you've still got a few days to go.
2 nights left. Wow. And we saw the Virgin aeroplane just take off.
You actually saw the plane, not like on a sat nav or anything.
No, physically see it, went off down into the sunset. like, wait a minute, that's bizarre. That's not likely to happen again.
Yeah.
Family in a plane.
Very strange.
Rowing around.
It was frightening.
Spooky.
It was, and we were rowing at the time, weren't we?
Yeah.
And I was getting goosebumps for Sally.
Yeah, and they're like, your son's on there as well, Julie.
Yes, your son's on. I went, oh, so he is.
with my family. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a strange one. But the ocean's out to get it's kind of beautiful.
But it gets you.
But it's out to get you.
And did it feel like that? I mean, was there any other particular challenging moments, weather-wise? Is there anything that you now, look back and think we survived that?
Yeah, there was that one little cheeky power anchor, wasn't there?
Oh, the second power
was going to break here.
Yeah, that was the most challenging and frightening moment. Is the second power anchor.
For a good 5-6 hours, wasn't it? We were on power anchor.
We were in a big storm. We were warned of the storm.
Okay.
When we left, we were told to go south as quickly as possible. Don't stop. Just keep going because there's a storm coming in.
Right.
And boy, did it come in. Yeah. And it was almost. It felt like two storms crashing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was most bizarre.
But it was literally like sitting on the M25 of waves. And
we were chugging along pretty nicely at one point. All of a sudden, it came to night time. It's like, we just cannot keep on course here. Something's just not right. Something's
affecting us.
I think we kind of had a bit of a rudder thought there as well.
We did have a rudder problem.
Something was quite right with it.
Yeah.
And until the next day, then we kind of took off again. It was kind of okay. But yeah, we were literally on power anchor for a good 5 or 6 hours. And we had to quickly get off the deck because it was getting dangerous.
So you had to hunker down.
Yeah. And it was scary. There was a scary moment because for Ed as well, probably felt more isolated because he was literally on his own in the stern cabin. Wow. So it was literally like, quick, Ed, strap everything down, quick, get in there, lock the door. Yeah. He couldn't then speak to us really because he had to keep a check on the AIS for safety reasons and all that kind of stuff. With the radio, keep the radio on. And then myself and Julie were in the bow cabin together, literally rolling around and crashing legs, limbs going all over the show.
For 5-6 hours.
Yeah. But the sounds that the boat made then were crazy. So on the bow of our cabin is a big D-ring, and on that D-ring our great big 90 meter foot of rope was out with this massive power anchor out, and the sounds that it made were, I honestly kept thinking, I couldn't really sleep because I just kept thinking it'd come off because there's this clanking noise. I was like, what's going on? You can't go and look.
It's incredible.
And the waves were like a freight train, like you go silent and then you just get a massive smack on the nose, and just the sound was just
the noise. It's definitely
it was, wasn't it? And you could time it, you could hear it like a surge, wasn't it?
And how long into your journey was that?
It was about a week. It was the
Sunday,
Sunday,
week, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
weekend.
It was just over a weekend.
Because you said you had to head south to try and avoid it. And
it was about a week in, and that was probably our most scary moment. And we did make a call to the safety officer, and the first thing he said to me was, trust your boat. It will be fine.
Believe in
your boat, and the boat really does look after you.
Yeah, it is extraordinary, actually.
Yeah, it's and as long as you're clipped on, and you've got, we had a rule where we wore our life jackets anything over 25 knots, and obviously always clipped on. And you have to trust the boat, and you have to trust the systems, and make sure you are clipped on, and it works. And obviously don't leave the cabin doors open. And fortunately,
do the right things, and the boat looks after you.
Yeah, it does, exactly.
It does. Yeah,
you look after it, it looks after you.
A very quick break from this week's episode, which I hope you're enjoying. If you are enjoying, please remember, do help us and help yourself to make sure you don't miss an episode by subscribing and reviewing the episode. So that's it. Short interlude from me. Let's get back to the conversation. On the flip side, we've talked about obviously coming into the finish line and all that noise and the emotion, but what's both your sort of other main highlight? Is there one moment across those 59 days that you remember as this pinnacle of joy or achievement?
Probably surfing down some waves. I think it's crazy fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
surfing down the waves.
I mean, I don't know. There was lots. There was one day where it was just non-stop for hours. Big rolling waves in the right direction. Everything, and we were doing 11.
Yeah,
12
we did
knots.
hit 11.
Yeah.
It's
And you
not-
can't
In a rowing
row.
boat.
Yeah.
But no
And
one
you can't row.
did it.
No one was rowing.
did it.
Because you can't row because you were
can't
going
get
too
yours.
quick.
Get
Yeah.
taken away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sally was glued to and we were hand steering, weren't you?
Yeah.
And Sally was
You're
hand
sat behind.
steering, looking in she's watching the waves to keep the boat in the right angle to the waves.
Yeah.
Ed was
Sleepy.
asleep, and I was sat behind him.
me,
You
yeah.
couldn't row at all, but it's quite exhilarating
Yeah.
when you're going that fast.
Yeah. That was crazy fun.
We unfortunately we just didn't really get any evidence of it, which is a
know.
shame. But because we daren't move,
No, we daren't move.
we daren't put the boat off of balance in
Balance,
any
yeah.
way. And Sally was literally gripped, and you had string marks.
Yeah,
in
I
your
think
hands.
I did. Literally, they were right. Yeah, just there.
We daren't swap over.
Yeah, I couldn't let go
positions.
because it was just like because it was crazy fun. It was fun, but also it could have been crazy to take over.
I think that's the highlight, and then obviously the obvious, which is when you see whales and wildlife.
Did you see much wildlife?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it's a good couple of whales sort of thing. We had a good hour or so with some whales, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
You saw swimming underneath us, looking at us. You could see their eyes and.
Oh, it's lovely, and they circle. We had one that we think it was maybe a mother and a calf, and it circled us, and the circle gets closer and closer to you, and eventually it just went straight underneath us, two or three times.
It would go, it would come back, go and come back, wouldn't it? It was inquisitive, just wanted to know what we were.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
What was going on?
Yeah.
So that's obviously a highlight when you see a whale in a natural environment. It's incredible.
Only imagine, yeah.
There
It
was
was quite cool to see it, but also an evening when we heard the whale before we saw it, wasn't it?
Oh,
It
that was
dusk, wasn't it? And
a Grantham.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
They make a very distinctive breathing noise. They're one of the loudest, and they're only about 25 feet long.
but
they
two,
make
wasn't there?
Two together. Yeah, they
Two
they
came
travel together,
Yeah.
and you heard the one, and then about 2 minutes later you heard the second one.
And you know it was that type of whale because you
I
you
was-
were listening to Moby Dick.
Yeah, that was my chosen audiobook. Was
Right.
Moby Dick. Was something I think I regret now.
It was quite bizarre, wasn't it?
It was
really
a
weird.
strange choice, but
Yeah.
anyway, that's how I learned that that was this particular whale.
yeah.
So to see that is fantastic. And the other well, I'm not sure it's a highlight. It was a slightly nervous moment. Was when we were being tracked by a marlin,
Yeah,
which
that
Sally
was crazy.
spotted
Yeah.
for about 40 minutes, and it tracks the boat.
Yeah.
It's on the
Right.
It just
so we had to remind ourselves where all
Because the marlins can pierce the boat,
Yes.
can't they? I remember you saying that.
yeah.
and it would come up behind, and then it would go off and then come back, and it did that a few times, and we had to remind ourselves where all the
where everything was
where
in
the
case
kit
we've got a
was.
little
Right.
little poke.
the epoxy, and then we had this rubber thing that if the hole's big enough, it's like a big bung that you put in from the underside, and so we had a little talk to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So the wildlife
whilst
was
watching-
amazing, but at times, it did add to the.
So because two of the boats had been struck,
Yeah.
and we'd already heard that.
Yeah,
On
a
this
couple of times.
Yes.
Wasn't it?
crossing.
Yeah.
Okay.
One boat got struck twice. So we already knew that. And then when Sally spotted the marlin,
I
does
shouted,
everybody know?
"It's a shark!" No, it's not. It's a marlin.
We're-
Quite loud.
Jaws.
Yes.
Solid.
yeah.
And it's clear that the two of you are even closer as friends.
Yeah.
You can just see the energy, and you could see the energy before. But what was that dynamic like? You had Ed as well on board, great team member. So what was it like as a team of three going through this challenge together? And how does it feel? How do you feel about each other now?
Yeah. Well, you're right. We're definitely closer.
Yeah, I feel slightly joined at the hip to Julie.
Yes.
Yeah. So definitely, and so much laughing, so many giggles, so many ups and downs and funniness that we've had.
I think it's fair to say Ed struggled on the row. I
I don't know whether that is because it's two women, one guy.
Yeah, well, we talked about
There
that
is a bit of
dynamic
a-
being a little bit strange.
Two's
and
company,
how's it-
three's a crowd, but
yeah,
I
how's
don't want
that
to say
gonna
that.
work?
But,
Yeah.
But also he
interesting.
was, for obvious reasons, because of there were two girls, he's a guy. He was in the stern cabin and he was on his own, and it was the smaller cabin,
Yeah.
and also just because of the bow cabin, you could put your legs down. If we were in a power anchor, we could go to the toilet in that cabin, whereas we couldn't in the other one. So there were lots of reasons why we chose to stick together, and then Ed, and he did say partway through that he felt a bit isolated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I think we did a fairly good job of not making him feel isolated, but it was a natural feeling that he had, and he admitted to that partway across.
Yeah. He also sort of confessed he had sort of slight anxiety about actually trying to sleep in his stern cabin now and then, but
He did.
He did manage it, and then sometimes we did a little swap where he could kind of take a little nap up by the bow cabin and kind of things, just to kind of, because it was pretty damp. His stern cabin is generally always quite a damp cabin, because it's that lower down in the water, and you've kind of got the auto helm going on, so there's moisture always in that cabin. So and that was off-putting. It's not a
it's not...
to manage that cabin is you've got to be on top of it all the time, and that was difficult for Ed, I think.
And I think Ed isn't a seagoer. He didn't have the experience that we had, and I think he felt slightly overwhelmed by it all. It was quite evident in the 2 weeks leading up to it, and then on the road, he didn't have a natural experience. So I think he struggled more than we did, for sure. But we got through it, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. No, we did. We did indeed. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that he felt that way. But obviously, we're Julie and I will be rowing, Ed and I will be rowing. So there's a good rotation of the three of us each time. To have good conversations and indeed.
And we and it was unfortunate. He also got injured. He got the most injured for the longest amount of time.
An early injury, wasn't it?
It was.
Into
he sort of ruptured his lats, I think, and that meant that he struggled to row. And he also, so if he couldn't row, he also struggled to steer because of the concentration of the steering, and it's not natural to him. So I think there were pockets of time where he sort of felt like he wasn't really pulling his weight, even though he was doing his best.
That one time,
he was doing his best.
That would have weighed heavily on his mind.
Yes, and you could see that. So we sort of carried him a little bit, but I think it's fair to say. But it just wasn't as natural for him. So,
And in terms of the team dynamics, what were the strengths that you think each of you brought? What were there some surprises that you found out about yourselves and each other on the road? Probably a question more for the two of you to think about because you knew each other beforehand.
Yeah, I suppose so. I think we were quite, again, just saying it again, like resilience basically, in that whatever little problem there was, we overcame it. So I think that was not a surprise that we could do it, but it was, that's what I take from this row.
And fixing things, things like trying to rewire batteries while you're on your back in a dark cabin, being thrown around all over the place.
You had a crazy moment where you literally got right into the thick of it, and you were on call to our marine engineer, weren't you?
Electrician,
trying to give over what we could see for him to understand how best for us to fix it in the state that we were in. So that was crazy because you were literally looking upside down in the smallest space possible, getting seriously hot.
With a tiny little screwdriver.
Would make you feel a bit sick as well.
Yeah, it does, So if you spend a lot of time in there, you do start to feel sick.
Got to get out.
Trying to concentrate. So I think for me, the surprise was how it was fixing things, problem solving.
Was a big deal. Problem solving it's actually not fun, but you had to do it because there was no choice. If you didn't do it, it would cut you back. It would set you back. You would not be a failure, but you've got to do it. There's no question, no choice.
No option.
And the sense of satisfaction when you fix something,
brilliant,
and suddenly you're back on track. Was incredible.
Off
It could be a big thing, a small thing. It could be the batteries or the rim of the bucket gave way. So it's a bit of that, wasn't it? All sorts of things.
It was, so it was a lovely experience.
And how did your bodies hold up? Is there any lasting physical effects?
No, okay.
Was recovery okay?
You've got scarred feet from blisters, but anyway.
You've got scarred feet, haven't you? Hands have recovered.
Hands
got
all
slightly
good.
Bent finger.
Still bent.
So
put a bit of string about that and put it on a door. Give a good yank.
You've gone old school.
But no, I mean, I'm suffering. I didn't have. I don't think any. No, you and I particularly didn't have any injuries on the row, other than like I hit my ribs once, and then you hit your head. But in terms of
myself
physically, like things not working, we trained enough that we actually felt quite fit and strong during the row. But when I hit dry land, I did have a problem with my back, and I'm still having a little bit of physio for it, but it's getting there. But no lasting, long lasting injuries.
No, definitely not. No,
unless the training paid off.
Okay, the
training
paid off.
for
sure.
Because we did have discussions about that. You were training hard, but was it going to be enough? Because you hadn't done it before, you'd never know.
You don't know.
So you don't know until you do it, and you just and you think, thank goodness I did. Definitely.
And you always assume that your back's going to get the hardest hit because it's obviously repetitive, constant. And also, you don't stand up really. You sit down and lay down. Everything you do is sitting and laying down. Yeah. You stand up occasionally to stretch after you've finished your sitting, but you don't stand up for long because it's not safe.
Easy to get your balance and not safe.
And of course you never stand on anything that's not moving. So that side of things was quite tricky. Standing up was actually a challenge, wasn't it?
It was,
Just walking from one end of the boat could take you quite a long
we'd
time.
often have such a laugh about walking. If you come out of your cabin, so you're in the bow cabin for me and Julie, then we'd have to go down to the stern end to either steer helm or to row. So you've got to hop over two people, and you've got your safety clips, your harnesses that you say, I'm going to do this, do that. So you've got to do a moment when in between a wave or in between when someone's rowing, the oars are moving like this, stepping over, and it would take you almost 5 minutes to get from that into that. It was so funny. And
that's 25% of a nap.
And we exactly. And we would joke about us being like OOPs, Here we are. Here comes Ed, he's coming out. We'd call him like the Gerald the giraffe, because he'd have great fun.
Ed didn't seem to have the ability to stand up. He fell over every day. Every day he fell over.
I nearly fell off the boat.
Oh, yes!
I empathise with Ed.
It was funny. It was a constant source of amusement watching Ed going from one end of the boat to the other. And then he'd get to the other end and he'd forget something. And he'd have to go back. And you're like, yes, this is fantastic. But standing up was a challenge. And I think that one of the biggest realizations for me was when you realise that if you fall off that boat,
you're gone.
No one's coming back to get you. Now, I'm not suggesting you're gone as in you'll never get rescued. But the boat and the people on the boat aren't going back for you. No. You can't. You'd have to set your EPIRB or the PLBs off and doing it, obviously, man overboard drill.
It's amazing what travels, basically. I think we had one day where our beanbag went kind of blown off or something. We're like, check that out. We can't leave that. So we need to turn around and go and get it. So we did take a bit of time. And it travelled. My goodness, didn't it? It took a bit of an effort.
We managed to recover the
same with the body
beanbag, but it was a calm day.
Yeah.
But if it's not a calm day and someone goes over, then to turn that boat was hard. And then to row against the waves and the wind.
And to be precise enough to get even close to something.
You realise that if you fall off on a bad weather day, you're not. Your teammates are going to struggle to come and get you.
A big deal.
So that's a big realisation.
Yeah.
So, to stay clipped on.
Yeah.
Stay clipped on. Yeah. That was a mantra all the way through, wasn't it?
Yes.
And adjusting then to normal life. So flying back into the UK, going through the airport.
Yeah,
that was not good.
What's the adjustment to normal life been like?
I've made a decision that when you hear people say, "Oh, I'm back-to-back meetings," I've realised it's just not cool to have back-to-back meetings. So you need time and space, and the one thing it gave us is time and space to think. Even though we were really busy on the boat, busier than I ever expected to be. But I've realised in life that you actually do need to take time out. And this whole back-to-back busy 8 hours a day, I'm not doing that anymore.
Okay.
That's gone. Those days are gone.
Good for you, Julie.
She's a new Julie.
No, you do need time out to you need gaps between meetings, and you
Those
need
slithers of
headspace.
recovery type thing.
You do, because then I think you
to
make
the next one.
smarter decisions and more, your
Wow.
judgment is slightly better.
So you've got
So
some
I'm
good,
slowing down.
good time management going on there. That's good. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you?
Me, yeah. Well, obviously I'm back. So family is obviously a big
back to
deal.
being a
So
mum and-
back to being a mum and doing all that kind of stuff. So, nothing really changed. Boys still leave their clothes on the floor, towels. It's fine.
Yeah.
We
Miraculously, that wasn't going to change with you away.
no. So we've moved house. So I suppose my head is filled with that kind of project going. If I didn't have that, I think I would be a little bit
A little bit skitty, a little bit like what's going on.
Yeah. So I think having that as a project to do is quite cool.
Okay.
Quite distracting, isn't
Quite
it?
distracting, yeah. And another sort of job prospects as well, coming up as well,
okay.
which is exciting.
Exciting.
So that'll be good.
Brilliant.
And then
yeah.
I'm going to go back and do the same trip again, La Gomera to Antigua, but this time I'm going to sail it with Paul. So So I've come back and I'm now preparing to do that at the end of the year.
So you're going to do that at the end of the year?
Yeah, exactly the same time as, just after Christmas.
Okay.
So, and I'm going to sail the same route.
Okay.
But this time it's going to take 3 weeks, not 59
I was going to say, how long was it going to take? Yeah, 21 days, not 59.
a little bit more comfort. So I think it's good to come back and have a focus on something else.
Yeah, you've definitely got to.
Yeah.
And you're still both training hard? Because that physicality of training, staying fit,
Yeah, it still stays with you.
Yeah.
I still try and train every day before I head into work. So
Okay.
I'm quite lucky where because literally rowing club is literally just like seconds from where I work. So pop in there for a quick half an hour or so each morning and then bob off to work.
Right,
so I'm
so-
still in that kind of
Right.
mindset.
Yeah,
I leave it.
Still in the mindset,
there.
but I haven't been able
Not
to
so
train.
intense, but
Very
injuries,
intensely just
yeah.
because of my back. But I'm doing a lot of Pilates. That's changed my life.
Okay.
Pilates has changed my
it
life.
hasn't put me off rowing. Hasn't put us off rowing. Still want to
No.
row. Still want to row.
No, still want to
Love
row.
Okay. Is there another rowing challenge in the offering? You think you do something like this again?
Yes, please.
Desperate to.
Yeah.
I would love to.
That is a desperation.
Love to.
Yeah, I would love to do something. I love the idea of the big challenge. I think what we did was quite extreme, and it took a lot out of us to get to the start line.
It took 15 months of your lives.
Exactly.
Even to
It's
get
that.
to
It's
that
before
start
that
line,
that's-
wasn't it?
Yeah,
It's a big
exactly.
deal.
And it's quite a selfish thing to do as well, actually, because it puts a lot of pressure on your family and your work and yourself. So, but I like the idea of a challenge, and I quite like something like the Nile, like maybe row the Nile or something with more to see.
Yeah. The Amazon,
Less,
perhaps.
less just looking right and just seeing the
Amazon,
same
yeah.
view.
But it's not imminent. But I would entertain something else.
Absolutely.
Wow,
Yeah.
watch this space.
Yes.
And obviously you had a lot of support from the community, those in Christchurch, sponsors, followers, how's that felt now you're back?
Yeah, we're still sort of kind of catching up with some of them and whatnot, aren't we? With local people from our rowing club, from the sailing club, people through my work, through your business,
And
etc.
every time you see somebody new,
They're still talking to you
start
about
to talk
it.
to you about
Yeah.
I think the conversations will go on for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
but it's nice, and like you said, you remember more and more things.
Yeah, you
each
do.
time.
The more you talk about it, isn't it? It's very cool.
Brilliant. So should we end with just a few quick fire questions?
Okay.
Go on then.
Some of these you might have answered a little bit, but let's start with the weirdest conversation you had mid-Atlantic. Can you say publicly?
Which one?
No, I can't say it.
Oh, you can't repeat it.
Oh, it's one of yours.
No. Oh, I know the one. Yeah. No, we can't repeat that.
No.
One. Yeah.
God, it just came to my head.
The weirdest conversations.
I think my have got a
It was food.
food. Yeah,
Food. I mean,
Right.
I'm not sure if that's weird, but we spoke about food a lot.
It seemed to be
And wine.
a thing for me and Ed on a Saturday. I think that's each Saturday there was during the row, we're like, right, let's pretend we're at home, Ed. What are you doing? It's sports day. What's going on? What kind of sport are you doing? Well, son's playing football, doing this. I'm like, yeah, my son's doing skiing. And there's like lunchtime down at the club. We kept dreaming about stuff that we're doing back home. And then just dreaming about food, cooking this, cooking that. Oh, Ed and I would get obsessed with that on a
Yes,
Saturday.
you do.
On a
5 and
Saturday in
6.
particular.
Between 5 and 6 on a
Family
Saturday.
day.
Like,
Yeah.
what have we got going on? Yeah.
Times are weird conversations. I'm not.
I think it was the nighttime chats, basically. Those
Yeah.
are the weird ones.
The strange ones. Those
Yeah.
ones were hallucinating slightly.
Yeah.
First thing you ate when you were back on land.
Oh, fruit.
Burger. First thing, beer, fruit, burger.
Okay.
Yes.
In that order.
That order.
Beer, fruit burger.
Yes, beer, fruit, burger. And then it was a case of craving simple things like toast or cheese. When we
You
got
did
back to your
see
apartment.
cheese and pickle sandwiches, didn't you?
I saw them
you were
floating.
watching those floating by.
That was the weirdest thing, seeing a cheese and pickle sandwich float past us. So, and then talking to the instruments. That was
Yes, that was a
slightly
great
weird,
one.
Most used phrase on the boat.
goodness.
Battery check.
Two. Battery check.
And that
What's the
portable
time?
thing. Yeah, what's the time?
What's
the
the
time?
time?
That was hilarious. You and I had such a great conversation about time. Because our watches, I didn't use my phone too much because that was pecking order of who's charging who's kind of thing. So my watch is obviously connected to my phone, so I didn't really use it very much. Yours was.
Mine kept connected.
So yours
because-
kept connecting and then your time kept changing.
Oh, okay.
We had
Yeah.
2 alarm clocks, stern and bow cabin, didn't we, for our sleep patterns for us to use.
Yeah.
And they were UK time, weren't they?
Yeah. But then you had.
But my watch stayed the same. It didn't change time, but yours kept changing time.
As you
Yeah.
went down time and date lines.
But you go through time zones, obviously,
Yeah.
because by the time you get to Antigua, you're in a completely different time zone.
Yeah.
But then you go through, it's almost like no man's land, where suddenly my watch would change by 4 hours, and it's just connected
Yeah.
to on the internet.
But it went back. It went forward. It went back, didn't it? It was so bizarre. I can't remember what order.
So
but
the
it-
most used phrase was what's the voltage on the batteries and what's the time?
Yeah.
And in the end, it was like, well, look, the sun's there, so it's got to be lunchtime.
Yeah.
And it's
Forget the watch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's AM or PM.
It was that one bit of kit that would get quite annoyed with called the Gold Zero. We'd nickname it something else.
Yeah, it
Gold
was-
Pointless.
Yeah, pointless.
And it was like a roving fold-out solar panel that would charge,
Charger.
watches, phones, all that kind of stuff. You're like, what are you going to do today then, Gold Zero? Are you going to charge anything? We're like, this
Yeah, 'cause
thing.
some days it just wouldn't charge anything.
Just wasn't going to do anything.
And then it would surprise us and actually do something.
Yeah.
So bizarre.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish with one question for you both. Same question. 3 words to describe the entire experience.
Oh, you've got them.
I've got
Oh, you have.
Go on, you've got
Go on then. You've got to go first,
heard
Sally.
you-
The start is about 3 B's, which is about bottoms, batteries, and bowels.
Yeah.
So I've ended it with brilliant, bonkers, and brutal.
Yes.
Brilliant, bonkers, brutal.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So the preparation was 3 B's, the aftermaster is 3 B's. Brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
Julie?
I thought that was a joint question. I wasn't planning for that one.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of it was relentless.
Yeah.
For sure, but it was incredible. So I would go relentless, incredible, and amazing. I mean, they're not great words. Yours is better.
No.
Sally's are better.
Sorry,
She's won
they
that
are
one.
better. Yeah, they are.
I do like the word relentless.
No. Brilliant. Look, it's been great. It's lovely to see you
Yes.
both. It's lovely to have you both back safe and sound. Sounds like you've had an
Yep.
incredible trip. Thank you for sharing just a glimpse of some of those experiences with us on the Evolve to Succeed podcast.
Thank you.
Congratulations once again.
Thank you very much for having us, Warren.
Yeah, thank you, Warren.
Wow, I started the intro to this episode saying I was going to be talking to 2 remarkable individuals, and weren't they really remarkable and inspirational individuals? Wasn't it great to hear them and see the joy on their faces as they recounted some of those memories from that trip, and actually sharing with us some of the stories of resilience and challenge and how they overcome them? And those are the things that we can bring into our everyday lives. So I hope there's something from that conversation that you can take into your everyday life. And if you are enjoying these conversations, then please do help us by subscribing to the Evolve to Succeed podcast. And please remember, if you want to learn more about how we could help you to start, grow, or exit your business, then please do go to evolveadvisory.co.uk. So thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting us. And until next time, goodbye.